Okay, let's just get right into this explainer because I really want to bust a massive, honestly kind of tragic gardening myth right out of the gate. We're going to talk about something I call the second harvest secret. So here's the myth. September is the end of the gardening season. Far from it. Actually, if you're looking at your tired, sun-baked summer crops right now and thinking it's time to just pack up the shovels and roll up the hoses, stop right there. Don't do it. September is actually a hidden golden opportunity for a massive, incredibly productive harvest. As a horticulturalist, I can tell you that this month is arguably the most rewarding planting window of the entire year. So today, we are going to completely unlock this second harvest secret. We're going to break down exactly why your soil is primed and ready right now, and I'm going to detail the 10 specific vegetables you need to get into the ground ASAP to take advantage of this phenomenal growing window. Here's a quick look at our agenda for today. We're going to explore the concept of the second spring, dig into the actual biological science of fall gardening, look at fast-growing greens and sweet root crops, cover the overwintering champions, and finally talk about protecting that fall harvest.
Section 1. The Second Spring Secret.
So I really want to start with a massive paradigm shift regarding how we view this time of year. We are so heavily conditioned to associate spring with planting and autumn with endings, right? We literally call it the fall, but we really need to completely rewire that thinking. Right now, as summer crops, your cucumbers, your zucchini, those bush beans, as they start to slow down, succumb to heat exhaustion, or get totally taken over by late-season powdery mildew, you might be looking at some empty beds. And I know it is so tempting to just let that soil sit there, maybe toss some mulch on it, and wait for next May. But leaving that soil bare is literally leaving food on the table. Your garden is absolutely not finished.
I absolutely love this quote from our source material today because it just completely changes the game. Some refer to fall as the second spring in terms of planting. With the right vegetables and the exact right timing, you can turn those empty, sad-looking beds into a completely new, incredibly productive garden. In fact, let's be real, a lot of veteran gardeners actually prefer this second spring. Why? Because the working conditions are vastly superior. The intense, brutal heat of July and August has finally broken. You aren't sweating through your shirt in 5 minutes. The pest pressure from things like aphids and caterpillars is naturally declining, and the soil is totally primed to work for you.
Let's move on to Section 2, the science of fall gardening.
Now, the actual biological science making this second spring possible essentially boils down to soil thermodynamics. Think about what you're fighting in the spring. You are battling cold, wet, heavy soil that just rots your seeds and slows germination down to an absolute crawl. It's frustrating. But in September, you have the ultimate thermodynamic advantage. Your soil has been baking all summer long. It's essentially acting as a giant thermal battery, holding on to all that solar radiation. This warm September soil acts exactly like an incubator, rapidly speeding up seed germination. Seriously, seeds that might take 3 agonizing weeks to sprout in April can literally pop up in just 4 days in September. And when you combine that incredibly warm soil with the cooling autumn air, it's magic. That cool air drastically reduces heat stress and water loss from the plant's leaves. So you're putting seeds into an ultra-fast germinating environment, and then they sprout into a low-stress, highly hydrated atmosphere above ground.
Furthermore, we are actively working with a concept called photoperiodism. Because the daylight hours are actively decreasing in autumn, this actually prevents our cool season crops from bolting. Now, bolting, if you aren't familiar, is when a plant panics due to heat or long days and rapidly produces a flowering stalk to reproduce, which completely ruins the flavor of the crop, making it super bitter. So bolting prevention is a huge advantage right now. By avoiding the intense heat of summer and the lengthening days of spring, crops like your spinach and lettuce can just focus all their energy on producing lush, delicious leaves rather than rushing to flower. However, I do need to mention one critical caveat here, the Persephone period. As autumn daylight wanes and eventually dips below 10 hours a day, plant growth essentially hits a brick wall and stops. So when you look at the days to maturity printed on the back of a seed packet for your September planting, you can't take it at face value. You almost always need to add about 10 to 14 days to that number to account for the slowing growth as the days get shorter and shorter heading into winter. Keep that maturity math in mind.
All right, Section 3, fast-growing fall greens.
Let's move to the crops themselves, starting with the absolute fastest growers. If you are looking at your calendar and you want a fresh harvest in under a month, leafy greens and radishes are where you have to start. By looking at this table, you can see how easily these fast crops fit into a pretty narrow 6 to 8 week window before your first heavy, hard frost. Radishes, particularly varieties like French breakfast or daikon, are the undisputed speed champions, ready in as little as 21 to 30 days.
And they absolutely thrive in cool, moist autumn soil without getting super woody or overly spicy like they do in the summer. Spinach and loose leaf lettuce follow closely behind at around 40 to 60 days. And remember that Persephone period math we just talked about? Even when you add a week or two to these numbers to account for the fading sunlight, these specific crops will easily reach harvestable size before winter truly sets in.
Let's shine a deeper spotlight on a few of these greens because the science of why they do better in the fall is fascinating. First up, spinach. Spinach is an absolute marvel of nature. It is ultra-cold hardy. It will happily survive temperatures dipping deep into the mid-20s Fahrenheit. Then we have loose-leaf lettuce like butterhead or romaine. What's fascinating here is that the cool autumn air actually prevents the plant from producing something called lactucarium sap. You know that milky white substance that oozes out of summer lettuce and makes it taste horribly, unpleasantly bitter? That's lactucarium sap. Fall lettuce doesn't produce it, meaning it's incredibly sweet and crisp. Next is arugula, or rocket. This is a lightning-fast 30-day crop. Now, if you've grown arugula in the spring, you know it gets decimated by tiny little bugs called flea beetles. Well, the cool fall weather naturally suppresses flea beetle pressure. Plus, the cooler temps reduce the bitter mustard oil taste that can make summer arugula too intense. Finally, bok choy and pak choy. These are highly prone to bolting in the spring when days get longer, but they absolutely thrive in the shortening autumn days, using that photoperiodism to their advantage to form beautifully dense, juicy stalks in just about a month. And a quick pro tip, for things like spinach and loose-leaf lettuce, you don't have to wait for a massive grocery store-sized head to form. You can use the cut-and-come-again method. Just carefully harvest the outer leaves and let the center of the plant keep producing well into the late fall.
Section 4. Sweet Fall Root Crops.
Okay, let's move away from the greens and look at the underground world to explore literally my favorite biological trick in the entire plant kingdom: starch to sugar conversion. As autumn temperatures drop and the plant experiences its very first light frost, it panics, just a little bit. To protect its delicate cellular structure from freezing, expanding, and bursting, the plant rapidly converts its stored starches into simple sugars, specifically glucose and fructose. Why? Because these sugars act as a completely natural biological antifreeze. Pumping its cells full of sugar actually lowers the freezing point of the water inside the plant. The incredible, delicious side effect for us as gardeners is that a fall-harvested carrot, beet, or turnip, one that has been kissed by the frost, is exponentially sweeter than the exact same crop harvested in the blazing summer heat. It's a night and day difference in flavor.
But getting these root crops started in September requires a very specific technique. Listen to me carefully here. Root crops absolutely hate being transplanted. If you start carrots in a little plastic tray and move them, you are going to get weird, stunted, multi-legged, deformed vegetables. So you absolutely must direct sow these seeds straight into that warm September soil. Now here's the catch. We know warm surface soil speeds up germination, right? But it also dries out incredibly fast in the late summer sun. And tiny seeds, especially notoriously slow germinating carrot seeds, will literally die if they dry out even once during that process. The trick here is consistent, very shallow watering twice a day. Or, even better, use a germination trick. Lay a piece of cardboard, a wooden board, or a heavy shade cloth directly over the seeded soil. This locks in the moisture. Just make sure you check it every single day, and the very moment you see green sprouts pushing up, remove the cover. Once they're up, thin them out so they don't compete. Oh, and don't sleep on turnips and rutabagas. They are amazing dual harvest crops. You can harvest and eat the tender greens at about 30 days while leaving the plant in the ground for 50 days to let those sweet, frost-kissed roots size up.
Section 5. The Overwintering Champions.
Now, what if we want to play the long game? What if we want to plant crops right now in September that will actually survive the deep, freezing, dark winter and reward us massively next year? This brings us to another fascinating biological concept called vernalization. You see, some plants don't just happen to tolerate the cold, they actually biologically require it to function properly. Vernalization is a mandatory period of cold dormancy. It acts as a strict biological trigger. Without this prolonged exposure to winter cold, the plant simply won't undergo the hormonal changes necessary to split, form bulbs, or produce flowers the following spring. It's a required reset button for the plant. And when we talk about vernalization, garlic, whether you're growing hardneck or softneck varieties, is the undisputed king. You aren't planting garlic in September to eat in October. You are actively planting next summer's harvest right now, while all your neighbors think the gardening season is completely over. Here is how you do it. You take a healthy head of seed garlic, carefully break it into individual cloves, leaving the papery skin on. You plant each clove with the flat root end down and the pointed end facing straight up into loose, fertile soil.
The goal here is to get those clothes into the ground so they can use the remaining warm weeks of fall to establish a really robust, strong root system before the top growth even thinks about starting. Once planted, you must cover them with a thick, heavy layer of mulch, like straw or shredded leaves. This insulates the soil and prevents wild temperature fluctuations from heaving the cloves out of the ground. Over the winter, that clove goes completely dormant, undergoes that mandatory vernalization period, and when spring arrives, it explodes with top growth, using that established root system to split into a beautiful, full head of garlic for a midsummer harvest.
Alongside garlic, we have a few other incredibly robust champions that just laugh in the face of frost. Take kale, for example. Kale is virtually indestructible. Once the kale plant is established in your garden, it can easily survive ambient temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember that starch to sugar conversion we just talked about? Kale leaves become incredibly tender, sweet, and crisp after that first deep freeze. Then we have overwintering onions, or bunching scallions. These guys are extremely frost tolerant. They will literally just sit there, dormant under a blanket of snow, and then they bulk up rapidly the absolute moment the ground thaws, giving you a super early spring green onion harvest. And finally, peas. While their delicate white flowers and the actual pods will be damaged by a hard freeze, the plant itself is a wonderful, cool season lover that fixes nitrogen into your soil. Just make sure you get a trellis set up for them early so the vines don't sprawl on the damp autumn soil and rot.
Okay, Section 6. Protecting your fall harvest.
Finally, let's explore how we can seriously extend our harvest window by protecting these crops from severe freezing injury. Because while a light frost makes things incredibly sweet, a deep, hard freeze will absolutely destroy plant cells. Using simple season extension tools can easily buy you weeks, if not months, of extra harvesting time. By carefully placing floating row covers, agricultural frost blankets, or heavy plastics over simple PVC low hoops, you are doing something very specific. You are trapping the radiant heat that escapes from the soil during the day and holding it in overnight around the plants. This prevents convective heat loss caused by freezing, biting winds. But there is one absolutely vital rule here if you are using plastic. You must ensure that the plastic coverings are suspended above the crops. If the plastic directly touches the plant leaves, it will cause conductive heat loss. The freezing temperature of the plastic will transfer directly to the leaf, completely burning and killing the foliage right where it touches.
Now, this slide illustrates a very high-level commercial farming trick for frost protection, and it seems totally 100% counterintuitive. When an unexpected deep freeze threatens a commercial orchard or a nursery, farmers will actually spray the crops with overhead water sprinklers all night long. Why would they ice their own plants? Because of physics. As that liquid water cools on the leaf and undergoes a phase change to turn into a layer of solid ice, it actually releases a tiny bit of latent heat into the plant tissue. I know it sounds crazy, but as long as they keep those sprinklers running and a continuous film of liquid water is freezing, that ongoing phase change releases just enough latent heat to prevent the internal plant temperature from dropping below 31.5 degrees. This can effectively protect the living tissue inside the plant even when the ambient air temperature drops all the way down to 21 degrees Fahrenheit. So, bringing it all together, the crucial point to remember is that while pure, distilled water freezes at exactly 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the water inside your plant tissues is very different. Plant sap is filled with dissolved salts, minerals, and, as we learned, those newly converted simple sugars. This means the plant's internal liquid actually freezes a few degrees lower than 32. Severe freezing injury only occurs when the temperature drops so low that sharp, jagged ice crystals physically form inside the plant cell, slicing the delicate cell membranes wide open from the inside. When the plant eventually thaws out in the morning sun, all the internal fluids leak out of those microscopic cuts, turning your beautiful green tissue into a sad, black, mushy mess. Protecting your fall harvest is entirely about using those mulches, row covers, or even water to hold on to just enough heat to prevent those sharp ice crystals from ever forming inside the cell walls of your precious crops.
So, armed with the actual science of soil thermodynamics and understanding of photoperiodism, the knowledge of starch to sugar conversion, and the strategies for extending your season, I leave you with this final question to kickstart your second spring. What are you going to plant in those empty garden beds this weekend? Whether it's getting those lightning-fast radishes going, sowing some cold-loving kale, or setting up a pristine garlic bed for next year's harvest, please don't let September pass you by. Keep the soil active, keep planting, and make every single season count. If you enjoyed this explainer and found the science helpful, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and please tell us down in the comments exactly what seeds you are putting in the ground this month. Happy planting!